With this tutorial, I wanted to focus on the construction of the covariance. We have so many assets, and this can be quite tedious setting up for each couple of assets the covariance. And we need the covariance so that we can get the portfolio variance. The covariance being the movement of the price returns minus the average of the range or the observation of price returns of a couple of assets, the way that they move together around their mean, and capturing each and every mix within the portfolio allows us to then construct the variance. This is what we're trying to minimize, and then chart. So for every level of return, we are trying to get the minimum variance. This is the variance axes. These are the different levels of return that we have possible with this particular set of assets. And the way I can carry across the formula and paste it down is using indirect and index. And I want to show you why. The problem really is you can't do effectively what this is. Let me first start with something that works. What this is an array. An array of returns minus the average, another array of return minus the average divided by the number of observations. So if we approach it as covariance, note we're using the sample. Sample basically means observations minus 1. Also note that this covariance is using a specific average, which you may want to change. This is using the symmetrical. I think maybe geometric mean is another one we'd want to build. Perhaps using the harmonic mean is another one we want to consider, but let's keep it with what the system can handle right now. We're using S for sample, and we know we're using the symmetrical mean in the covariance spot S calculation, and we will do DMLRY and DMLRY times 250. And here I'm just going to show, okay, this puts back the number I have on this end of the matrix because I'm trying to replicate and tie back the numbers. So all I'm doing is an equal sign. This equals this, this equals this, to try and make sure that I'm tying and double check my calculations. This is actually the variance. So if I want to carry it across, I need to then go, okay, Daimler, replace this guy, LMT, over here, Akamai, and you see it just gets Akamai. It gets pretty tedious. Another way I could approach it is equals covariance, and then go and take the entire array. Go one down because you can see this is a name range already. So let me go one down just so it's a little bit more visually clear what I'm doing. I'm doing Control Shift, arrow down, Shift one down, enter, times 250. And this was a check between Daimler and Lockheed Martin, so I'll move it over here. You can see this ties back as well. The problem with something like this is then you need to F4 to make these absolute, carry the formula all the way across, go one down, copy, come over here, Control V, change this to a C, C, go all the way across, and basically continue doing this approach. This isn't the easiest either. It's very tedious. We have so many combinations that we have to do. So how to get around it? I figured, okay, maybe I could do covariance array, but guess what? System doesn't work, doesn't recognize it. Even if I do a Control-Shift-Enter, it doesn't recognize it. Even if I try this, covariance, let me try something like this. It's not picking it up either. So how to get around this? Well, the only way I know how to is using the index and the indirect formulas. Here's the index. I'll grab index for Daimler. And I'll plug in 1 and 1, column 1, 1, click enter. And you can see it recognizes that this is some form, something. It's pulling in Daimler. Now I'll do the same for Lockheed Martin. I'll do it with a C. This guy, index formula, LMT, 1 and 1. It's picking up Lockheed Martin. Now my goal is to have this piece of the calculation, covariance, Daimler, and Daimler recognize that it's an array and get me this result. Covariance, I'll just do DMLRY, and let's do the Lockheed Martin calc. So I'm looking to see this value to get me going at minimum over here. Going back to these arrays, beginning with index, I'm basically pulling in some sort of an array, and it knows that it's pulling in this Daimler array. And how I know it knows is if I do an indirect and then close these brackets off, I can see it's pulling in some value. So let me fill handle down. See how the values here are changing? I'm going to go ahead and copy one more up, the same calculation. Just do another Control-C, one up. Control-V. This is just to give you an idea of what it thinks it's grabbing. I'll do an indirect here. Just begin with index and then do an indirect. Close it off. Fill handle down. I want to show you where it's actually pulling. And notice that when I began the indirect here, because it's the same formula. You see that? Same formula, up or down in the position. This is order or row 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one is 5, 6. So if I go to the portfolio, I'm going to show you order 1, 2, 3, 4. Copy these guys down. This is Daimler and Lockheed Martin. We'll start like this. Come back over here, right click, paste special values. You can see these foot. So basically this is a way that it goes to capture the respective returns or the respective data in the range in that order. Same formula. It's just basically grabbing in order the information from the array. Now, say I grab this and come over here to variance and I replace the first part with the indirect. Okay. I'm going to get rid of the equal sign. Do the B. Come over here, do the B. Get rid of the equal sign. Lockheed Martin. Come over here, get rid of the equal sign. After it, so you notice how I'm just replacing Daimler and Daimler. I'm replacing it with this indirect embedded or nested formula. And I'll multiply times 250. Change this to B. And you can see it puts over here this change to true. So what I want to do then, and just to summarize again, what we're doing is effectively replacing this variable or this array and this array in the covariance formula with these indirect references to the arrays. This is so we can make our lives easier and be able to create the matrix where the matrix is dynamic, where on a daily basis, if I'm adding additional information here, changing the daily returns, this is impacted here. This is reflected here. Let's go back. I want to go across now, and I'm expecting Daimler and Lockheed Martin. So this is not happening. I need to make something absolute. I'll start with, let's do A2 here. Because I know I want to keep this constant and then go across. I wanted to pick up Daimler, Lockheed Martin, Akamai. So let's fill handle across again. That's not working either. How can I get it to pull in Lockheed Martin now from B to C? Well, I want this to move to C. So I know I got to get rid of this dollar sign and be able to move that column. Get rid of the dollar sign here and see if this will work for me. Go all the way across. Okay, this is pulling in as true now. Now I want to be able to fill handle down and have this start moving, this to remain fixed or absolute, and this to start moving. So for me to do that, I need to get this A2 to an A3, which means I need to remove this dollar sign. So let's go back up here, remove the dollar sign, and then fill handle down. And basically this is how you set up the formula. Notice now I can go all the way across, and obviously we can go all the way across here. Here I'll just go all the way across, all the way down, and all of them now match. And this is basically what the covariance indirect index is doing. As you can see here, I'm clicking, it's capturing different combinations so that we can easily automate the covariance section, which is in this piece. Our next tutorial, I'll get into calculate variance the long way around. This long way is basically beginning with this covariance and then applying this covariance in the scheme of a portfolio variance. Again, our goal, we're trying to minimize this portfolio variance at every set of return so that we can get our minimum variance frontier and the efficient or the optimal portfolio. Thanks for listening. I hope this tip was helpful. Let me know. Let me know if you're taking a different approach. If you would capture this differently, and if there's a quick way where we could just reference these guys up here, the axes, with some sort of a text where it recognizes it's an array, I'd love to know if there's another way to get around this. Okay, until the next tutorial, and again, we're going to go over the long way of capturing the portfolio variance, which will bring us back to this calculation here.